What is up, everybody? It's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video, and we are back in Time City once again, and it has been way too long. Of course, I think it's been like literally around a month or so, which is not a good pace to have in between episodes, to be honest, and I'm sure you guys will agree, so I'm glad to be back with another episode, and hopefully it does not take so long to get to the next one. And I talked through it a lot through the live stream, and I hope I can get some more episodes to you guys a lot sooner. Things have still been really crazy busy, and it's just so hard to get around to getting to new episodes for this park. It's just crazy, and I wish I could just create episodes every single day and stream every single day, but I got a day off finally, and I actually had time to do something today, so I was actually excited to actually get around to something and actually record a new episode and also stream it as well. And it actually turned out quite nice because we actually get to work and a lot of detail work on this this last building that we were doing on the main street, which actually turned out quite nicely. And there's still a little bit more we have to do even after this episode, but a couple of things that we kind of touch up on in this video itself is actually a little bit more parking lot stuff than anything. I actually implement the kind of like the tram ride, or the tour bus as it's called in the game, and it actually turns out that it will actually work quite well. So I even did a test, you'll see at the end of the video, I do a test with guests in the park a little bit to see if they actually use it, and they actually do use it, end up using it, even if it's not for what I hope for. So it's turned out pretty good, and I can't wait to see it in action. So I'm still working on, I'm going to be doing a lot of tests to see where I want to put all my guest spawners, and I want to just kind of spread the guests out on how they get into the park as well. And we're going to be doing a lot of that, and I want to make everything as functional and awesome as possible. So I gained in like 1,500 guests, and nothing was like even open in the park. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, we get into detailing this side of the building. I have been holding off this building for too long, and we just need to complete it. So we're just going to do a lot of detailing into it. And I spent some nice time on some windows and just some nice little structures here that helped kind of bring this side of the building to life, and it looks really, really nice. So I was pretty pleased of how it turned out. I mean, you know, it looked pretty good. And another cool thing that we get into the episode is we actually get to the next station of the monorail station, getting into the first section of the park. We don't build any on the first section of the park in this episode, but we do actually get into build the monorail of where that, we actually have the location of the station of that section. So that's exciting, and hopefully we'll get to that next section, or that first section of the park soon, which will actually be the Jurassic section of the park. So you're gonna see hopefully a lot of cool dinosaur different stuff like that, and I might end up cheating just a little bit in that section and using maybe a couple blueprints. I'm not sure, because there's no way I'm probably going to be able to actually make some real dinosaurs, to say the least. So just keep that in mind, but we'll see what I can do. I might try my hands at it a little bit, but we'll see how it all turns out, and hopefully it turns out okay. So so there's that, and yeah, so we get into the more of the monorail, and we're just completing this park is going to be completing this section of the park will be huge. So there is a little bit more backstage area that I did want to do, and that was the employee parking lot back here. So you will see that going on. We're going to be creating a backstage area, and it's the employee parking lot. So it's another parking lot that's going to be back here, crammed in back here, which will actually work very, very well, and it turns out pretty decent. There's going to be more to it than what you're seeing today, so just keep that in mind. And it's pretty much where all the employees are going to be parking, and it's going to you know, because they have to be parking in areas too when they come to work. So, and I want to make sure they feel right at home. They're not going to have like a super nice parking lot. It's just going to be kind of a gravelish kind of parking lot for them. but it's not too bad. That way they can at least be sort of happy with the way they get to park. And I pretty much connected with this backstage area. I thought it would be a good idea to have that there, because this is also the backstage area behind by all those buildings, and it'd be a good place for the employees to get into the park and have access to that backstage area as soon as they get in and everything. So we'll have a road kind of leading up to this parking lot as well, and I had to create a little bit of a wall because I didn't want guests to really see this backstage parking lot. So you got to kind of have to keep it real and kind of keep that open and kind of keep that kind of hidden away. So I'm very excited to see when we finally get to like our first set of rides and stuff in the park. Of course, that won't happen until we start building in the first section of the park as well. So just keep that in mind. So as you see here, we kind of work a little bit on the monorail track, and it will actually get us to our first section of the park with the station, and this is actually where it's going to be at. So that's exciting. It's going to be cool to see that we're going to get that, and we might be working on that station very shortly. I don't know how far we'll get into this section of the park, but we'll at least get into the station building a little bit. So the inside of the station is going to be kind of the same theme-ish in a way, but you're going to see a little bit of the transition to the theme of the Jurassic section of the park. So it's still going to have that time travel theme because you're within the time machine, but you're going to see around you that it's going to be very like foresty and jungly and going to have that Jurassic feel to it. So that's going to be exciting. I'm not going to have so many like tons of like don't expect like lots of dinosaurs throughout the section, and you're going to be seeing more of those on the rides for the most part. So I do plan on having a nice like family coaster in that section, but we'll see how it works out. So I add on a little bit to the hotel over here. To give it a little diagonal section, to give it a little bit more character and a little bit better shape, realistically speaking, kind of shape to it. And this is where we kind of get to the fun part, the main part of this episode. And we're really working on the bus trams here, the trams here that will travel the guests through the parking lots to the front of the park, and there's going to be a bus drop off here. So I had to really try and figure this out because you cannot put the stations on the pathways themselves like you can the regular track. The track actually goes right over those pathways just fine with the no collision option on, but the stations actually have to for me to lower it underneath those pathways, I had to lower the station's levels just a little bit, so I had to dig down and push those down just a pinch, and it actually worked out. So I'm just going to cover the terrain with some asphalt or something like that to kind of cover that up, and some asphalt textures and stuff, and that's kind of the way we do this. And we create like I do get rid of this bus station here, or this like the waiting area, and turn it into kind of like the loading area for the trams is what it's going to be. So we don't end up finishing this. I just kind of get an idea of how this is going to look, and it will be really neat when it's all said and done. And it actually turned out really a lot better than I was expecting. So I am going to try and do that. It's going to bring a lot of life to our to the parking lot itself. You're going to be seeing these trams run around, and my goal was that the guests would actually use them to work to actually get them to the front of the park a little bit faster. Or at least guests getting on them will be something that will work out for me. I hope they just use it for that sake. So we'll see. They actually did end up using it. I don't know what they were using it for, but because a lot of the guests were commenting that it didn't go anywhere, at least as of right now. So I'm going to be doing a lot of tests and see where those go. So but we go in here, I make a lot of different changes to these drop-off areas and everything, and I even want to make a at those intersections, possibly make the bus kind of actually stop for a second to see if there's any oncoming traffic. And actually there's a crossing spot where the guests will cross over, and you'll see here in a little bit when we get to that I actually make it stop at that spot. So it will actually stop for the guest crossing. It'll still run over some guests every so often, but that's all the fun of it. And so this little drop-off area I had to make separate from the paths itself. I couldn't make it the same as the pathways. for the simple fact that, again, the station cannot be on the pathways, so I had to kind of blend it in as best as I could, and then I want to make my own little custom queue to get onto the trams as well. There's going to be multiple units running at once, so hopefully it doesn't fill up. I'm sure it will fill up, but hopefully not fill up too bad for this section. So this is just so the guests that don't want to walk, they can take a tram ride up to the front of the park, and will work kind of similar like that. So I do make this full circuit around by the end of the episode, of course, and we kind of change this little color to make it look more time machine-y, and that works very well. But again, you have to make all your path first before you can actually use the track. Otherwise, the track gets in the way and you cannot create any pathways around that track. So it's kind of tricky in some aspects, but it is definitely doable. So I had to relocate to that section of the station because it was too close to the pathway, but we'll get that all fixed up. And as you can see here, I actually make this to where it actually will stop there at the crossing. That way it stops and waits for people to go across, and I even tested it here, as you can see. It goes all the way around, and a lot of testing throughout the episode just to see how this works, and a lot more tweaking, of course. But it'll actually stop at the crossing and then go. So I was actually planning on this to actually be 2 lanes. So I actually might have to adjust the track so it'll actually stay in the right or left lane. And then I want to add a little bit of grass patches throughout this section again. Just kind of little bits and pieces here that are going to complete the parking lot more and more as we go along. There's still a lot more, and I needed to create another road for the trams to actually make the loop around without exiting the park. So it actually made a little bit more sense. And I would love to see maybe like more tracked rides with actual moving cars, so we could actually make like cars driving around the parking lot. That would actually be really, really cool if they had like a car version that just had like normal cars, and we could create different ones of those, and just so that way you can actually bring your parking lot to life just a little bit. Wouldn't be functional, but at least a little bit. So you could actually have like a tracked rides with cars and do this exact same thing, but you can actually have them driving around the parking lot. So it looks like there's actually cars driving around. That would be kind of a neat little addition, I think. You know, it wouldn't be perfect, but it would, you know, if you're not really focusing on one car, it would actually work really nicely because you can actually watch the cars drive around your parking lot a little bit. So that's kind of the neat thing. That's what I'm really excited about this tram. It will actually bring the parking lot to life a little bit because it's actually going to utilize the roads that I have built, and I just wish I could do the same for like the cars and stuff, but unfortunately that's not going to be happening unless we get a car that works. I mean, I could use other things, but I just want to kind of like the, you know, generic cars possibly would be kind of a nice little idea, or kind of cool. And I don't know if it would ever happen, but it would definitely be a nice touch or something. You know, we do have some moving cars animatronics within the studio pack, but they're more like stunts and stuff, so I don't know if I'd ever use that. I might find something that works, but who knows? We'll just kind of play it by ear, and I want to try and make this parking lot as realistic and nice and beautiful as possible, and just adding some movement within the parking lot can add a whole lot of cool stuff to it. So this is the part where I kind of test out the guests to see if they actually use it. See, I had to delete the track and then replace it in order to connect that pathway. So they just like sprawl in here, and I noticed at the beginning that they weren't using it, but then a little bit afterwards they actually did start using the tram, which I was actually excited for. None of them really wanted to actually go into the park at first, which was kind of an interesting thing as well, but ended up being alright because I think it's mostly because I didn't have any rides or anything really open, because all my staff actually quit and left the park, so there wasn't really any shops open either. But there was a couple of guests that actually wandered inside, even though there was nothing absolutely nothing open in the park except for the bathrooms. So maybe they came into the park just for bathrooms. That could actually be a possibility now that I think about it, and it's pretty interesting. So that's about. I don't think we really do much more building within the episode here, but yeah, I just tested it out, and this is the first time we see guests in within the Park of Time City, and I don't usually do that until actually it's completely finished, but I'm going to have to do a couple of tests to make sure some of the stuff works, and I was quite pleasantly surprised. I guess we're on the tram, so I was actually really excited for that, on how that worked out. So it's very exciting, and I can't wait to see more of the park come to life. And this is just kind of like one of the first steps to see how it works out. And we're going to have to do a lot of tweaking, a lot of different things, but it will turn out good. And I hope you guys are excited for more of the more episodes to come. But anyway, that's about it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe for more amazing content like this. And I hope you guys are enjoying the series so far. Hopefully a lot more to come in a shorter amount of time. But anyways, have a great day. If you're cool tomorrow, and I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.